It for classic today.
I saw that too. Yeah, that was good.
uh, Tough being a Protoss, isn't it?
It honestly, it kind of like it kind of is like it's you get like people are always quick to dismiss achievements unless you really feel like they earned it, you know, like unless you can show that you earned your wins.
Yeah. I absolutely think it's the race that people accuse the most of not feeling like they deserved it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of low-hanging fruit of the StarCraft community. So, if you choose Protoss, guys, be prepared to never get credit for your victories and always be the reason that StarCraft is dying.
It's true.
Yeah. Yep.
And on that note, we've got ourselves a nice ZVT in the grand finals.
Yeah, none of that stinking Protoss. Let's get into it.
On it. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Blackburn is game one. It is HeRoMaRinE in the bottom right.
And his opponent spawning down the bottom left, winning a grueling over-hour in-game series. Representing XCOM ago, it is Elazer.
Yeah, that was pretty long, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in-game time, I think was an hour and 10, maybe 15 minutes. So shout out to HeRoMaRinE for just absolutely dusting Max Packs 3-0 and then having to wait like almost an hour and a half all told between the series.
Yep. Apparently, HeRoMaRinE is going to be looking to step away a little bit from StarCraft 2 as he goes back into studying part-time. So, I don't know if he'll be dominating Open Cups in 2022, but if he like kind of started his transition back into a top contender of the European scene when he was actually practicing, or only half-time, part-time. So I don't think he'll like fall off anytime soon. Some people in my chat are talking about him in his recent announcement, but I actually think that HeRoMaRinE has reached such a high level of skill that, you know, when he starts to fall off, it'll probably be like mid 2022. I think he's got like another full year of actually really good performances in him.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think the way that he plays too is so cerebral that I don't think it's going to be the same as, you know, like if Clem stopped practicing where, you know, his mechanics are just absolute god mode, that losing out on the practice would really, really hinder him.
It is funny that you say that because Clem apparently his reasoning for not doing so well after the season finals, you know, he was like bombing out in the Open Cups really early on, was that apparently he took a week off after the season finals and just forgot how to play StarCraft.
Oh my god.
You're pretty on point. I think if Clem stopped or started doing like part-time, I think it would fall off pretty quickly, according to him.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So HeRoMaRinE, he's still pretty young, right? Like, I'm kind of unfortunate that as he's getting such a kind of fantastic approach that he's gonna like step away. Nice job, by the way, from HeRoMaRinE, really delaying this third hatchery by a lot of time.
Reaper's been very annoying, and behind it, HeRoMaRinE's going to be going into Hellion Banshee by the looks of things on 2 bases. They're going to continue piling on the pressure, something that Soul didn't do, I think. He always went for a 3rd CC. Oh, no, it's Viking and Stim.
Oh, okay. You know, I'm actually a big fan of this because if anything, I would say HeRoMaRinE is a little bit not one-dimensional, but he definitely does tend towards going for that Hellion Banshee almost always, it feels like, whether it's, you know, 3cc Hellion Banshee or whether it's just a regular, you know, Hellion Banshee like this off of a fast 111 and second gas. That being said, this is a very quick second and third barracks. This is going to be an all-in, isn't it? This is going to be 2 bases.
Definitely 2 bases. Very important that Elazer didn't get his Ling in there. He was just short of getting into the mains, so he actually didn't see anything. Not that it was a tech labless starport, not that the barracks are being thrown down. That is very important. I actually like bringing out such an old 2-base build on this map in particular, because I think Zerg players have kind of adapted to the more typical pushes on a map that can be abusive for tank positioning and whatnot. But if you're hitting earlier, I'm not sure Elazer is going to be at all prepared, and it's going to let the tank push get into that very vulnerable area around the natural. That's kind of the most dangerous place.
Yeah, it's a really, really nasty place to deal with. Like, you have medevacs kind of lifting up, controlling the ramp. The tanks provide support behind that. It's just nasty to deal with. And with where the Baneling nest is located for Elazer, it could come into play as, like, not only blocking him, but also being a little bit vulnerable.
This actually isn't the push that I was thinking of. I was actually thinking he was going to go for the tank push, but he didn't really get that quick of a factory with a tech lab, and he didn't get one at all. He's adding a reactor and swapping it off to the starport, so it is just very fast marine drop. Not even fast marine drop, it's just a fast, large number of marines is what it is. Because this drop's actually going to be around like 6:30.
This is like a weird 2-1-1 that's not a 2-1-1. Like, and it hits so much later, of course, as well. Like, this is so bizarre to me. I haven't seen something like this in a... I don't know if I've seen something like this, actually.
Thank you, Maynard, for the 65 months.
Very strange build. It's going to be 16 Marines, though. It's a nice magic number, and he will have combat shields with this, which is a huge power spike over the regular 2-1-1.
Yeah, it's hitting later, of course, but maybe that will just, add to the potential damage of the drop. And it's going unscouted because the Viking moved away those Overlords. Honestly, HeRoMaRinE going for the barracks before 3rd CC is almost like what you would see if someone was worried about like a 2-base Muta build. But he's just using it to I guess, mess up Elazer's expectations. You know, this is a much more powerful drop than he anticipates, but the Banelings are still ready. Hellions, for the most part, suck up that damage, and that means the 16 Marines, they got like 14 Marines left over. They can continue pulling back the creep spread, but is that really worth the delay on the 3rd CC? It didn't feel like it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Not when you've got... yeah, because that's like even the old school 3rd CC land timing. This is over a minute after that. I don't know. I feel like this didn't really achieve its objective. And now look, Elazer's drone count is at 73. Oh god, this is really good for Elazer, I feel.
Yeah.
What do you think of this burrow play? He was unleashing it with deadly effect. Oh, hold that thought. Drop on the right side. Not gonna get too much done. Will deny mining time though, which is great.
Viking coming in with a drop to the south is kind of funny, but it does help just a little bit. Takes care of Elazer's lings that were left behind to deal with exactly this drop, and even this one, +1's about to finish, it's done, but Banelings roll in. Not much more that can do. And now the drop to the top of the gold is the only thing that's really doing damage. I've loved his burrow play. He's been using it for burrowed Baneling bombs, but also for like kind of some like ling scouting. It doesn't scout very much, but it can scout Marines walking right over it. So if he can afford it, which he clearly can, I do love the addition.
Big connection, a little bit late from the on the pickup from HeRoMaRinE. Yeah, no, I think that's one of the biggest utility things that Zerg has that is underutilized is burrowed Zerglings. Not even at bases, although I think that's a good addition, but just around, just everywhere, wherever you can put them.
Imagine Elazer will start placing them down soon enough because he's actually taking control over this game. Like, his creep spread hasn't really been pushed back. He has burrowed Banelings offensively since he pushed back HeRoMaRiNE's drops. He can also put burrowed Banelings in the middle of the map. Like, whatever he really wants to do, it's up to him. He's got 5 bases, 89 drones at this point. 2-2 starts up, not too far behind HeRoMaRinE. HeRoMaRiNE's going to have, you know, a couple decent pushes, sure, but this really didn't feel like the game that HeRoMaRinE wanted.
Yeah, and it all comes down to that like kind of weird build order choice. Like, I don't know what the plan, what the goal was. Widowmine's of course great, but on a map where there's so many good tank positions, I think I would have preferred tank play. What do you think on that? What are your thoughts on that?
As I said, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Okay, I would have really actually appreciated a 2-base, like 2-tank push, like the olden days. Like, people used to go 2-1-1 into 2-base. But yeah, it was clearly not his plan. He was more focused on doing the drop, which is why he got the Viking. And I guess after a certain time, tanks just really aren't that great versus Ling Baneling, even if the map can play to their strengths.
Yeah, but then you just add on the Widow Mines from there, I feel like. That, like, kind of what Soul was doing in the previous game. I don't know. I don't want to be too critical because HeRoMaRinE is a fantastic player, but it's just one of those things, like, we saw tanks so successful before.
Well, we do have at least a couple coming out. They could just be for clearing up run buys that are going to be increasing threats, but right now we got nothing but drops going on. HeRoMaRinE trying to win on one side or another so far has been pushed back. This little squad in the middle, not even actually taking the time to clear up that creep spread. Kind of darts in, darts out, darts in, doesn't know what it wants to do, and then finally picks up.
You know, that crisis of identity you have. What am I? What Marines am I? Like, who is this? What does it mean to be a Marines? Nice Baneling connections on a fair bit of HeRoMaRiNE's army. But meanwhile, in the main base, ooh, the spawning pool goes down. That's actually a big problem for Elazer.
This is starting to pull Elazer apart a little bit. Elazer, above all, is starting to miss his injects, which has been a problem when things get really just action-packed. Elazer's being forced to pull his queens this way and that. He can't keep track of them, and he's losing them and losing injects, and thus he cannot spend 3,000 minerals. He's now down 30 supply. It felt like in a blink of an eye, HeRoMaRinE suddenly very successful with all of his drops.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly there. The lack of injects is really what is... Oh, oof. Nice last second split on those Widow Mines, but the Marine's going to clear out the Banelings in the middle of the map anyways. Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. That's the lack of injects and the lack of attention. There's 14 larvae on the map, and even still, Elazer is not spending it just yet.
He can't. He doesn't have a spawning pool. Can't build queens, can't build lings, the only things that don't require gas, so he is just in a world of trouble. He must have started that spawning pool so late, right?
He did, yeah. It just started like 20 seconds ago at most.
Well, that's obviously another big problem. He's got 21 larvae at this point, but he can't even afford to spend it because he doesn't have that much gas. And even if he did, just pure Hydra or something is not really that strong against Terran.
No, certainly not. Not without the upgrades. And we're going to be seeing... That being said, there's a lot of Hydras here and not a lot of medevac energy. The Widow Mines are being targeted down. Holy crap. Those actually did way better than I expected. HeRoMaRinE kind of YOLO stimming all of his units across the map. And as a result, they don't have much HP.
I guess that's true. Elazer at one point, I think, was down 30 or almost 40 supply, then just like bumps back up because he can finally unleash the larva and his queens. Like, he's producing 5 queens now, so that was a lot of his bank. And he's instantly produced like 40 lings. So his supply no longer looking as threatening. And his creep spread is still an issue. It does seem like finally he's got his feet back under him and he can start contesting HeRoMaRinE again.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Meanwhile, though, now the creep is all gone on the top side, and without creep there, God, it becomes so difficult to engage a Terran army. Ooh, the Banelings. Oh, God. Quit teasing me. Just run over them. Or don't. I don't know. Scan. Either way. We're going to see kind of HeRoMaRinE getting jumped on a little bit here. Not a lot of splash. Did get a nice hot pickup on that tank. 6 drones. Where did 6 drones just go down?
Liberator. Oh, what am I in the top left?
We don't mind drop. Oh, God. And where's the... Okay, Overseer is coming on in. That is the worst feeling when you don't clear up all the Baneling or the Widow Mines.
I mean, Elazer's going to be feeling pretty bad about this game. It was going pretty much totally fine, and then suddenly HeRoMaRinE is dropping every which way. He misses his injects, can't get the army when he needs it most, and though he has accrued an army now, he lost all the creep spread, he lost all the run-by potential, he lost all of the mid-map control, and HeRoMaRinE has run away with the game. Wasn't quite able to end it prior to the spawning pool finishing, thanks to injured Marines, which are once again just super overstimmed. My goodness. But...
that one Baneling almost just killed like 40 Marines right there. Oh my God.
Oh, these Marines are so overstimmed. There's not enough medevacs. The Hydras can actually deal with this. They're going to push them back. No, I thought potentially into the burrowed Banelings, but not quite. Quick pickup on that one tank as well, and HeRoMaRinE still holds on to a 20 supply lead. Elazer is going to continue to try and do more damage, but his time is up. GG. Damn.
That got so messy so quickly. Like, oh man, Elazer had that game, like he had like a stranglehold on that game, if anything. And then just all of a sudden, spawning pool goes down, queens go down, and he's got no larva, no like no way to spend his money. He was on a pretty low gas count too. Yeah, that really got out of hand quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what happened. Just in the blink of an eye, Elazer starts to fumble the macro portion of things, and HeRoMaRinE still has an army to take advantage of that. So if HeRoMaRinE had been more passive, had just been waiting, then it's really not that big of an issue. But of course, HeRoMaRinE's not passive at all.
No, he is a very aggressive player, very decisive too. Like when he feels that that there's blood in the water, and if he feels that his opponent has thrown too much away going for harassment against him, he'll just cut SCVs, pump out pure units, and just go from there.
Yeah, exactly. Still a bit bewildered by the opening from HeRoMaRinE. I didn't really... If its end goal was to get 16 Marines with combat shields into Elazer's main base at 6:30, I'm like, okay, all right. I feel like there might have been some intention to even get Elazer confused, and hoping that like something would tell Elazer like not to build banelings, for instance. But I don't even necessarily think the banelings were what helped like made the defense. He had a decent number of lings. But I guess I'd have to ask HeRoMaRinE directly what the goal of that really was.
I'm also a little bit confused. Because I would have thought if you were going for a build like that, probably you'd want to, especially on Blackburn, where the like creep in the top side is so important, and if you can deny it, you can really create problems for the Zerg. I would have for sure expected that to be used as like creep denial. You know?
Yeah.
That would have been what I would have thought.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the idea of doing the main base drop first, because you did clear out the overlords and then go after the creep spread. But in that case, then what's... I mean, I don't know. I feel like a third CC before that, how much does that push that off? 30 seconds to a minute, maybe? Which is considerable in StarCraft, but is it that considerable that the drop still couldn't do some harassment and some creep spread removal? Because whether it's a minute earlier or later, I feel like it does the same thing, I guess is what I'm getting at, you know? But one has a stronger economy, but talking about a game that HeRoMaRinE eventually won, so either way, his relentless aggression worked out, just in a very different pathway than we are used to seeing.
Yeah, which I'm still happy to see, by the way. Like, I'm still happy to see HeRoMaRinE mixing it up a little bit more. Because, you know, he's always been one of those players that's a little bit rigid in his play style. But over the past like 6 months, a year, he's really switched things up, and it's been such a joy to watch him continue to spread out as far as kind of diversity is concerned. Which is why it's so sad to hear that he's actually going to be going part-time. Do you know when that's going to be taking effect?
I think he said the season finals would be his last one as full-time, but I don't remember.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is really tough. As good as HeRoMaRinE is, and as much as it feels like he is improving, perhaps even drastically so, like, I do feel like he has got a couple moments where it just feels like he's not improving by 1 point at a time, he improves by 5 points at a time. I guess it is still a very frustrating position for HeRoMaRinE to be in, to be constantly, you know, top 4, but never top 2. And European killer, but not quite Korean killer, right? Plus, I think just in general, it's not even HeRoMaRinE liking or disliking his position in the player base. It just makes a lot of sense for, I think he's 24, maybe? To, you know, think about his future. If I had no problem with that. Yeah,
no, and he's made like a decent little living off of this, but it's not something you can do for your entire life. Absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm actually I mean, I think it's actually a fairly good time, like, to kind of bow out when you think you might have reached your peak, which might actually be the case. I mean, HeRoMaRinE, it's amazing what he's done while also being a guy who streams as much as he does.
Yeah, and is like pretty educational with his commentary too. Yeah,
very consistent commentary. Like, if he wasn't such a good player, I would have, you know, said streamer player as opposed to player who also streams, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and he's probably got one of the most successful streams, like, period. Like, it's up there.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets a lot of viewers. His sub count isn't quite reflected, but I think he is missing some of the, what's the word? The call to action, bravado, charisma that, like, the best streamers have, which is to relentlessly tell you, don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't see that either.
It's very charming and, bro, what would the active term of bravado? Oh, almost loses the Reaper. What would the active term of bravado be? Braggadocio? No, that's bragging.
I don't know. Don't know.
English is a funny language.
Ah, it really, really is. Anywho.
Yeah. What do you think of Elazer? He's been doing this in the last few ZVTs. He's going for 6 lings instead of 4.
I didn't actually really pick up on that. I think that HeRoMaRiNE's Reaper has sometimes been in a class of Clem's Reaper, and honestly, I've heard Zerg players just say that they need 6 instead of 4. So.
Yeah, no, it's not like a big deal, but it's one of those things where I'm like, if you're going for this, I don't think you can even afford to lose a Zergling type of thing. Like, losing a drone is all like out of the question in terms of like what's acceptable. But then at that point, I think if you're building 6, I think you got to keep all 6 Zerglings alive as well.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. Well, HeRoMaRiNE, he goes for a 3cc 111, and he goes for the Viking, goes for a Liberator Harassment as well. This is a build that we're a lot more familiar with, and it's going to end, well, not end, but it's going to have 16 Marines and 2 Medivacs around like 630, which I think would be quite similar to the last build, except it won't have combat shields. But it'll have this 3rd CC cranking away like almost the entire time.
Yeah, and it's going to be faster upgrades as well, I think. Like, a little bit faster at least. Like, it's just, yeah, it feels like a more stable build. And then you also have the potential of getting a lot of damage done with Hellion Liberator, which is, like, it's like a classic combo, but it still can be very, very powerful if the Zerg player is not prepared.
I do like Elazer's queen positioning, just like hard blocking the Hellions from dipping in to grab queen drones. Liberator is going to find queens derping. Looks like they couldn't get around a corner for a second there. But they're here. With the Spore Crawler as well, the Liberator actually has no chance. HeRoMaRiNE not microing it in time, was paying attention to his Hellions, which clear up a couple of creep tumors, but not much more than that.
Yeah, it's nice. I would say that on this map, this is the most important set of rocks right here around this area. So keeping the creep down is always a good thing as far as I'm concerned. It's always a really, really fruitful endeavor.
This is going to be usually the hitting point of the Terran, right where those queens just were. And HeRoMaRiNE might be thinking about that as well. Queens being harassed again by these Hellions. Looks like HeRoMaRiNE is going to be able to drop without combat shields. Actually, like, almost 30 seconds later than his last build. So I do see how, like, what the advantages are. But I just wonder, you know, we didn't see those advantages actually pan out to anything, right? But at least I can understand how the build shapes up more.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's at least got, like you said, more upside. Oh man, wow. Big scan coming in here. Going to clear out a lot of creep tumors. And this is going to make for a really, really nasty follow-up push. He might even get a denial on this base. As he turns into Hellbats, HeRoMaRiNE, I feel like he normally is a lot more conservative with these Hellions, but he's going to be able to find a little bit of damage.
Interesting choice. Hoping the Banelings will come over and he's going to split and take out as many Banelings as possible while still having his Marines hit the main base. I mean, anytime a Zerg player is without Banelings, it is concerning, but only 16 Marines, no combat shields. The Lings will cover it for now.
Meanwhile, the Hellions, or Hellbats, I should say, they actually just stay alive, and 3 of them are just going to waddle on out. That was really great for HeRoMaRiNE. That got so much done. And he kept them alive, which is crazy.
12 drones go down. 5th base looks to be canceled, and an attack in the middle as well is going to grab the 4th base too, and he can just get the heck out of there. Nice hit from HeRoMaRiNE.
Yeah, that was a really, really strong move. He's got a really massive supply lead at this point. Combat Shield is going to finish up. He's got his 2-2 on the way. 1 now finishing up for the Zerg. and we're going to be seeing a potential another cancel on this base. Yeah, this is feeling like it's already out of control right here for Elazer.
Yeah, it doesn't feel nearly as close as the last game. Elazer has been struggling since, I mean, kind of since the Hellions started to approach him. Kind of pulled him out of position this way and that, and then again, in the blink of an eye, two things happened at once. Both hatcheries get demolished, and that just leads to Elazer having to tap out, down 50 supply. Marines encroaching on his third. Just sub 9-minute tap out. GG.
This is this is always kind of a sad thing when you have like this incredibly epic series that's so razor's edge, goes to game 5 so close, and then the follow-up series is just kind of like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
Game 1 was close, but that was even with like very close, I would say. That was even with like kind of a suboptimal start for HeRoMaRinE, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it's I really thought this would be, because it still has a chance to be closer than that last game. I guess sometimes it just happens that way. But yeah. I thought overall it was going to be closer, and Elazer was going to take some maps, because he did last time they were in the finals. He won, a month or two ago. But HeRoMaRinE, I guess, proving my point. I was talking about this on DreamHack, and I didn't really get to show because then he got bopped by Cyril. But I really feel like HeRoMaRinE has upped his TvZ game in the last month. Like, I was astounded by how fast he was playing versus Lambo. And again, I will be astounded if he's able to 3-0 Elazer, because Elazer clearly is warmed up for this matchup. He was doing very well against Soul, who's no joke. And yet he's being made to look like a joke by HeRoMaRinE.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing that we saw Clem do versus Cyril after Cyril did this to HeRoMaRinE. So it's kind of funny to see the tiers making themselves shown. But I would agree with you. I'd say there's been a huge boost in terms of just the overall power level of HeRoMaRinE's TvZ, and it is so good to see. So good to see him increasing his, kind of variety, as well as also just the overall speed at which he's doing everything. Like, it really makes me sad to hear actually that he wants to kind of go part-time, because this really feels like we're on the verge of like his awakening here.
Yeah, but as a competitor in general, it can be so hard to like wait for that, right? The emerging. It's honestly just like it almost feels like a crapshoot in a lot of ways. It's very different experience, but I was a discus thrower when I was younger. And in practice, I was actually performing I was throwing 30, 40 feet farther than my recent PR. And then I went to competition and I did worse. And it's probably if I had given it another year, because then I transferred schools, probably would have actually been hitting the same thing I was in practice, but there's never any guarantee that's the case. And I feel like it can be very easy to think that way when, the improvement and the result of your improvement can take months or years to actually show themselves.
Yeah, it's so difficult to stay the course. It's because there is that uncertainty. Obviously, it's never certain that you're going to get a job out of university or whatever. Like, you're going to have your life all figured out. But that is the balance of probability. If you do things a certain way, follow the more traditional path, you're more likely to have an easier time than something that's... And it doesn't even have to be something like StarCraft 2. Like you said, it can be disc throwing, or it can be Major League Baseball. Like, it can be anything where there's a really high barrier to entry in terms of skill. It's really difficult to just stay on track there.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a gamble, and when you really have to be, winning to actually make it worthwhile, then it's awfully stressful. I feel like HeRoMaRinE is in that unique position again, where he was successful almost right off the bat as soon as he started being interested in StarCraft 2 again. And his stream, obviously, is something that he feels very comfortable doing, even whilst performing professionally. But yeah, to even want to be under such pressure and to take such a gamble is already a quality that's not many people are going to have to even get this far. And they just keep entrusting like that it's going to get improvement. You're going to actually see those results. Oh, it's so difficult. Especially with the recent results. Like, very specifically, it really felt like HeRoMaRinE had boosted himself in this matchup, and then he just got clobbered by Cyril again. It's like, I don't think that impacted his decision. He's probably been thinking about this for a while, but still, it just goes to show how sometimes that practice doesn't actually get you the rewards that you're thinking it will.
Yeah, especially with now it's like, I still think Cyril is one of, if not the best players in the world, but I would say at this point, Rainer's TvZ is now a cut above Cyril's. Not a huge amount, but I would still rank him as higher. Whereas before, I would say they're pretty similar, if not identical, in terms of results and skill level.
I mean, it's funny, and I think this is an outlier, but you know, biggest example of that is that Rainer was on vacation 2-3 against Clem. Rainer was playing in his ideal environment 1-4. Or 2-4 technically, but he only won one game.
Well, I was gonna say you would consider that 1-4, I think, since it's actually the actual maps that were played.
Yeah.
We do see a kind of an interesting little opening here. HeRoMaRinE getting a little bit too far forward, did lose one of his Hellions, but picked off a couple of creep tumors. Still, that's not something we see often these days, is like losing a Hellion early on. True.
He's been a little shy in the Hellion count, though, so when you feel the obligation to be aggressive with your first 2 Hellions, or to get them out in the map anyways, because you want to get some scouting, and you're not backing them up with the 4 and 6, because they do not have 5th and 6 on the way, it is more likely you're going to lose one. It's a lot less scary for the Zerg to tackle. A lot easier for them to focus fire as well.
Yes, that is true. Does pick off another active tumor, and it is going to be a 2-1-1 after the 3rd command center here. He did go for the 4 Hellion variant instead of like the 2 Hellion variant, so it's a little bit more. Ooh, this is cute. Utilizes the Hellion and a Reaper on the high ground to provide vision, and just goes after those lings. And honestly, I think these are the most pivotal rocks on this map. Like the ones beside the kind of high ground doodad. I think they're actually more important than the large wide map rocks in the middle.
Well, Lazer's gonna have to get back to it at a later date. He's got a drop to defend, which, with apparently 7 queens, it's easy enough.
Yeah, it's pretty good when you have like 15 transfuses or something like that. It does put a dent in there. Still, HeRoMaRinE gets on out with everything, and he's keeping this creep from getting out of hand, and he's keeping these rocks alive, kind of defending them against a Elazer. Ooh, Elazer going for a wraparound. Not going to happen. Nice job by HeRoMaRinE. You're just continuing to kind of control the middle of the map, and I like it.
It's a bit of a dance. It is going to be a pivotal push point for the Terran, whether they can abuse the rocks or just the right side, which is also very common. The less creep spread there is around them, the better it's going to be. So again, dipping in, killing a couple of building tumors. It's all annoyances. It's all energy spent as opposed to transfuses. It's queens being kept on the front lines as opposed to waiting somewhere to deal with drops. It's all that good stuff. And HeRoMaRinE is going to get at least 1 drop in there to cancel a 4th base, or 5th base rather, which a Elazer might actually need just because of the larva. So he's getting a macro hatchery, but when you're doing nothing but Ling Baneling, you're also going to need that 5th base.
Yeah, it's very, very important. We are going to be seeing this Widow Mine drop coming in on the right side. HeRoMaRinE mixing things up. Not going to be getting really much of anything with it, though. Only gets 2 lanes, and that's actually kind of a complete waste right there. Like, that's a win for a Elazer, if anything, you know?
Yeah, a little bit.
Widow Mines, yeah.
The only thing it does is distract him, but the rocks still get broken down, and he's still got armies on either side. But as I say it, when the army to the right appeared, Elazer pulled his defending army to the left away, which is another cancel on the 5th base. And that is becoming more and more of an issue, especially if he can never pull HeRoMaRinE entirely back. And HeRoMaRine's not going to give up this position quite yet. He actually drops back down on top of this base. He will eventually get cleaned up, and now he's grabbed 6 more drones for his trouble, I suppose. Yeah, and save 2 of those medevacs.
Yeah, double drop into the natural. Going to be picking up a little bit of stuff here. We'll get forced into the medevacs once again. Almost got that extractor. Wouldn't have been the biggest of deals, but once again, that's attention spent. That's technically another drone. That would have been nice. Ooh, the Widowmine. Nope, Marine drop in the main. And we're starting to see what we saw in game number 1 a little bit of everything kind of just getting pulled apart here.
Yep.
But this big counterattack from Elazer could be very scary.
HeRoMaRiNE's paying attention, and that's kind of the ticket to victory. If he's paying attention, he should be okay. If he wasn't, he might have been in some real trouble. Lings will get on top of the SCVs and kill a handful of them, but this is a lot of Elazer standing army, and he once again is having larva issues. Larva issues and gas issues. It's a bit like the game on Blackburn. Cheeky little burrowed Baneling is going to injure a ton of SCVs, but 19 actually went down, so that did far more damage than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, the only problem for Elazer right now is that he only has 61 drones of his own. It's not like he's on 80 drones right now, and like you said, he is having a big problem with larva. He can't spend his money. 1,500 minerals is way too much to have in the bank. And the only thing I'll say for HeRoMaRinE is his 2-2 was very, very delayed. Is that going to matter when Drilling Clause is completed like this?
I'm not sure it will matter. It'll give Elazer a moment where he has upgrades, but he's got to take better trades while he has it, and that's going to be in like 30 seconds. He is still getting some run-bys in, or the Banelings popped off, something like that, and the start's on the way to being built. Widowmine drop is going to find a bit more success, just a tiny bit more success than last time. At HeRoMaRiNE, still with that supply lead, still building his 4th base planetary. Still feels like he's in control of the game, because Elazer's having trouble getting creep spread, he's having trouble getting those injects, and he still hasn't really gotten all of his gas. So he's not exactly capable of building a ton of Banelings.
No, not so much. He is starting to rebuild those drones, which is great, but yeah, I'm very worried about him in this game. Now, there's not many defenses at the 3rd base. As I say that, we are going to see some Marines coming on board. Oh, and he spots the burrowed Banelings, which is pretty nice. Does scan those, and we'll take them on out. Meanwhile, he's going to be pushing this creep spread back in the middle of the map. This is such a crucial point of contention. That kind of high ground spot in the middle on the Zerg side.
HeRoMaRiNE's not going to dedicate to the push. Generally, it's not where Terrans focus their efforts, but in this particular game, it just might be. HeRoMaRiNE has the safe planetary off to the right that would deal with run-bys for the most part there. And it's Orbital that's a little bit weaker, so you can kind of attack from your weak point and defend it while you're charging forward. So Elazer might just be done with all those run-bys, only has the main engagements to look forward to, which he is going to be having that upgrade advantage for the 20 seconds. This could be his time to shine. He's been able to spend a bit more of his money, get a bit more gas, and maybe he can make something work here. There's not a whole lot of Widowmines, in fact, none at all. Pickups are going to have to happen as HeRoMaRiNE bit off more than he could chew. I think really there it was overzealousness from HeRoMaRiNE and not enough Widowmines for that overzealousness to really work out.
Yeah, that was definitely a little bit too aggressive. I'm wondering if he didn't even realize that his 2-2 wasn't done, because just kind of thinking like, oh man, based on the timer alone, he would not have wanted to take that fight 1-1 versus 2-2 if he knew that he was down upgrades, you know? Like, that's not a HeRoMaRiNE move, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so many burrowed Banelings around here. Sorry, go on.
Good point. There's actually a burrowed Baneling. It's almost ready to capture that drop. But the HeRoMaRiNE is just like, he's building so much at home. He's actually started to bank his own bank. And he's put some of that into the additional barracks, so more Marauders will be appearing, but he also has 2 more command centers on the way. And despite being later to 2-2, he is still going to have that 3-3 advantage like Terrans usually have. Elazer comes in from multiple sides, however, and does catch HeRoMaRiNE a little off guard, a little on creep, not able to back away from the big surround. But that time the Widowmines were there. They burrowed, they made that a more even trade than it would have been otherwise. And HeRoMaRiNE has actually had his, I think, first poor fight. Elazer can feel a bit more confident after that one.
Yeah, if it wasn't for those Widowmines, that would have been a disastrously one-sided fight. But as it was, yeah, like you said, a little bit closer towards even. How is that not Oh, it hit all the Banelings. Oh, God.
Oh, whoa, no, I missed it.
No, how is it not fired? And his boom just absolutely gets every single Baneling.
Shit, I missed it. How many Banelings did it get?
It's at 22 kills now, and I think it was at, I don't know. It got a lot of Banelings. It cleared out every single Baneling in the middle.
Ah, that's concerning. 14 are left over, but we have a lot more finishing. There we go, back up to 36. But HeRoMaRinE, now with some Marauders, now has the Wood of Mines, taking this a bit more slowly, is going to have a bulkier army that Elazer's should have trouble handling. Not to mention all the drops that are still going to be set up as HeRoMaRinE gets closer to his 3-3, also setting up his 5th base as a planetary. Elazer really hasn't had much to say offensively in this game, you know, one run by really. But he has managed to get maxed out. His Hydras are on the way. He could get to Lurkers. That would be a tremendous help. He has some Banelings connect, but with a lot of Marauders, and he's losing drones as the Marines get on top of the 4th base. But it is ultimately HeRoMaRinE pulling back. Elazer, where are the rest of the Banelings? Does he have any? There's 14 somewhere. Some of them are burrowed. Some of them are actually attacking a planetary. But HeRoMaRinE, he scans ahead. He doesn't see anything. He's not going to push his luck. He's not going to push into the heart of Elazer. I'm not sure Elazer using those Banelings on the 5th base was actually worth it.
Yeah, not in this situation. It's one of those things you have to do that when you're ahead, and I don't even think he was even. I think he's behind right now. Wood of Mines does get kind of dragged away, but it takes a big shot. That was like 15, 20 Zerglings, and HeRoMaRinE is forced up into the medevacs, but he gets, you know, a good portion of his bio out and all the medevacs away.
That Wood of Mine almost killed all the medevacs, though. That would have been really helpful.
Oh, that's okay. Damn. Yeah, there's a lot of very red medevacs. Jeez.
Burrowed Banelings. They don't kill the Marauders like they do the Marines, but still injuring them up is nice. Scan ahead this time around. Actually, just, I would say more so confirming that there aren't that many Banelings. It's really just the Hydras who only have 1-2 as opposed to 2-2, but they are starting to rip through the bio. If HeRoMaRinE just reinforces, those Hydras got to be careful.
Yeah, there's no Hydra speed. They are so slow off creep. Oh no, and they're going to get sandwiched right here. Every single one of them should go down. That being said, there is a lot of Lings coming in, but there's just too many medevacs here. Banelings trying to roll on forward, but the concussive shells. Oh god. Watching Banelings off creep getting concussed is just brutal. They are so slow.
And that fight was all while HeRoMaRinE was, of course, on that really steady 3-3. He's got plenty of Marauders. He's got plenty of medevacs. He's clearing up the creep spread. Maybe he could have dived after that 5th base, but instead he's going to take the cautious approach and just make sure to clean up. That means that Elazer's going to get a couple of Lings into his 6th. Like, I mean, it's his 5th right now, but he's actually got another command center going off to the right side. Actually, HeRoMaRinE paying attention to the run by. It looks like he got a couple of Banelings to the face as the bio army is forced to retreat. Good scan. I mean, he's got a couple of them, so he knows the burrowed Banelings are a problem. He's going to keep scans in his back pocket. But there's the attack. There's the attack that I actually wanted to see 30 seconds ago. Right down the heart and into Elazer's 5th. Is Elazer actually capable of defending this? His Baneling count is still tremendously low. HeRoMaRinE doesn't want to stick around and find out. He actually just lifts everything up and backs away.
Yeah, that's actually a little bit surprising to me. There was no Banelings there, really. There was like 3 or 4 in the back. But he is going to get out of this kind of a stumbling retreat, but he will get back to some tanks, some reinforcing bio, and he's going to be able to be okay. Lot of Banelings on this left side. A little bit awkward right there. They do go down, some of them. Meanwhile, a little bit of bio getting caught. This game is getting so chaotic.
It really is. It feels like HeRoMaRinE, you know, when he had like a 40 supply lead like a minute and a half ago, was going to win, but now, oh my god, even the Banelings connecting with the SCVs that were transferring away from a planetary. The only reason they were transferring, by the way, was because of one Ling that had killed 6, I think. And then maybe HeRoMaRinE thought there was more to come, so he was like, okay, gotta get out of here, but there's actually no reason for those SCVs to be where they were.
Yeah, and it's important to note that that planetary was like 3 seconds away from finishing up, so it would have just killed off everything. Now more oh my goodness. 6 more SCVs going down on the left side, and Elazer, he's still very far behind in army supply. But as I say that, he actually pops out a few more units. Army value is very similar, and HeRoMaRinE, he is really far down in economy.
And he's going to lose his planetary. Like, it finished in time to not be able to lift against Banelings, so it's an easy... Easy tackle for Elazer, who does use a lot of banelings for it, but gas is no longer his issue. It actually is minerals this time around. 80 drones, but increasingly running out of mineral patches to mine from. We're actually hitting that point on Oxide where this is really what a danger it is. There's a lot of mid-game points for Terran to abuse Zerg and the positioning on this map, and then there's the late game where, simply put, the map doesn't have a lot of bases, so Elazer wants to be mining more than his opponent, and he's just not capable of doing that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tanks now with this push. Vipers are on the way, but they're not out yet. We still don't have Hydra speed. Oh my, he never realized. He never realized and got the Hydra speed upgrade. Ling Runby is going to catch a single tank and will manage to dance on out. Actually going to find this other base. Oh my god, why is this not a planetary? He's lost like 30 STVs now from this base, make it 35, because it wasn't a planetary.
That's a good question, actually. It's not like it's main lifted. He just had an extra command center made in his own orbital, and then thought, you know, what the hell, I'm applying so much pressure, I'll put the orbital down, which sometimes can work, actually. Like, Elazer having to scramble together everything to make a defense means he doesn't have enough to counterattack, and that was working for a while, but every so often Elazer has found enough of a grounds to work with to actually send even a handful of cracklings across the map, and there's nothing an orbital can do about that. So a consistent weak point of HeRoMaRinE that is going to cause some distraction, though this engagement not looking so hot for Elazer. He gets a couple of blinding clouds, but the banelings still rolled in one at a time, but the tanks actually left alone might just be going down here. HeRoMaRinE actually is going to end up behind in supply after the engagement, and Elazer, how did this game end up this way?
I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Oh man, that felt like it was such a bad fight for Elazer. Like 3 Vipers went down, only 1 blinding cloud, but HeRoMaRinE got forced to micro back onto creep, and then the banelings got pretty decent connections. Like you said, the tanks were left on their own, and now we're seeing this Elazer. He just takes control of the game, and we're going to game 4. This doesn't make any sense.
I have no idea how Elazer brought that back multiple times, especially towards the end there. That massive maxed out 3-3 army with like 5 tanks really felt like it was going to be the Doom push. I mean, the Vipers weren't even that involved, so it really was just a Ling Baneling Hydra army, and the Hydras don't even have speed. Like, I don't have to watch that engagement again because I don't understand how Elazer took the engagement specifically. As far as like him eventually winning out the economy, sure, that was increasingly becoming a problem, but the actual army I thought was going to be good enough to do it.
Yeah, that just didn't make any sense at all. Like, that was just the weirdest setup. 2-1-2 versus 3-3. Like, that's a bad situation for the Zerg player, but he was able to somehow make it happen. And he was so good at not just sending Ling run-bys, but sending Ling run-bys off of, like, the main force when it was already in a position to be close to where it was. Like, it's not like he built Zerglings and just sent them to a base. It was like he already had the army in a position that was close to an exposed base, and he just sent them in from there. So just efficiency in terms of harassment coming out of Elazer. I really feel like if that was a planetary at that 5th base, it's probably a different game.
Well, I think HeRoMaRinE wins 100% if that's a planetary. He doesn't lose, you know, over 30, 40 SCVs, so he's got a Remax in. He has extra command centers again, too, so he's continuing to take expansions, but instead he kept bleeding off SCVs, so it really did put him into an all-in position. It put him into that position that Terrans are actually kind of familiar with, which is, okay, I got the better army, let's go for it, but the army didn't actually do anything. It crumpled as if it wasn't the better army. That confused me.
Yeah, it was very, very bizarre. I like you said, I kind of feel like I have to rewatch that engagement to understand what really went down. Still solid moves out of Elazer, and I mean, here we go. We're going to game 5 or game 4. Sorry, I should say. I thought that I was gonna have like an hour and a half between the 2 cups to, you know, play some ladder, but now I can see that that's just not gonna happen. Meanwhile, look at what we're seeing out of HeRoMaRinE. Command center first. What?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't actually know the math on this, Like when it comes to 2cc versus 3cc, there's usually like a minute difference in a lot of the same expectations. So like a 2-1-1 on 2 versus 3 is a minute different. But I really don't know exactly what the command center first powers. So I can't say whether this is the biggest deal ever, but what I can say is that it's funny that Command Center First isn't more popular because there's really not much a Zerg player can do about it. Even if you pull first, it finishes before the Lings get here.
Yeah, the only thing you can do is like a 12 pool, and
yeah.
if you do that against a Terran, you're having a real bad time. I mean, I guess you can like proxy hatch like Bly, but
yeah, you'd have to already be building in anticipation of a Command Center First, which just really wouldn't make any sense for the current meta. If Command Center First made it into the meta, then I guess we would have that as a response. But yeah, currently it's just kind of a freebie. You do just get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. And because, you know, you have to respect Reapers, oh man, this is actually so much better than for HeRoMaRinE than I realized. Because Elazer goes 6 Zerglings instead of 4. This is just basically 6 wasted Zerglings, right? Like,
yeah. You're totally right about that. There's like, yeah, I mean, 4 Lings also would have felt bad. Just any Lings at all would feel bad, but there's no way for Elazer to know that this is happening, especially, like, he's actually not going to know anything at all for quite some time. His Lings are going to break down rocks, and his Overlords are going to stay positioned as more like anti-Hellion scouts than anything over the usual pillar to see what's building Marines, Hellion, supply depots, like very in the dark. Both of them are very in the dark.
Yeah, this is a really, really funny scenario. Additionally so because HeRoMaRinE kind of playing a little bit safely, getting the Hellion first before swapping the reactor, but also that means that he's like less likely to be able to move on the map for a while. So a strange scenario. I do like that Elazer went straight for the rocks though. Because he's got these rocks very low already. HeRoMaRinE
got supply blocked. Like, he's clearly not super intimate with the build order, because he was supply blocked for a while, and it was when he was trying to make his next 2 Hellions, which is just, like, really, like, basic Terran. When you delay your Hellions, you feel like such a fool. It is going to be a double battlecruiser build, though, so it looks like he's actually stealing Soul's build, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure this is what Soul did to get the double battlecruiser to take Lambo out in Game 1 on DreamHack. So, that is interesting. Oh, no, actually, no, it wasn't that. He might have gone Command Center first, but then he made a bunch of Marines, because he wanted to make it look like it was a 2-on-1. No, this is a bit different, but ultimately I do believe it is double battlecruiser.
Yeah, oh, it's gotta be. Razorblader actually did this versus Vanya and took a game. Not the Command Center first, but the double battlecruiser nonetheless. So I want to say it's cool to see this back in the meta, but I just don't want to have to deal with it myself. So I'm going to say that this is a bad build and you shouldn't do it. You know? Whether it's good or bad or not, I just don't want to deal with it on the ladder.
It's a pretty fun build, though.
For the Terran player, very much so.
Yeah, exactly. Still more indications of HeRoMaRinE not really being super familiar with the build. There was a supply block, then he had to, he started the battlecruiser, canceled it because he realized he needed more supply and needed more money for that. And it's been a little bit imperfect because honestly, guys, when it comes to the majority of every other professional game, you aren't talking about them messing up their build unless it's forced. Like if they're being attacked by roaches, then they can mess up their build. Yeah. But they got nothing to. Oh wow, is it like Bailey? What the? What?
Okay, he just went for a Baneling bust and broke through. He's absolutely crippling his opponent's economy, and now he sees the battlecruiser, drags the Hellions back home. Yeah, I don't know if Elazer needed to send the additional Zerglings forward, but still, that was really important to see that. But he doesn't know it's double battlecruiser yet. He's adding 1 additional spore in the main. If you knew it was double BC, you would be getting 3 spores per base.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, if he has enough queens up here, 4 queens though, not quite there. Couple of transfuses, but then they're short of another one. Double spore crawl in the main with 4 queens is going to be enough. 4 more queens are coming forward. 5th at the natural as well. He needs everything he can get right now together, and then he can deal with this. But yeah, clearly not expecting the two battle cruiser. Who does? No one does. And with the third one on the way and Yamato, this is going to be mech.
Yeah, we've got the Armory coming down. This was intended to be a Hellbat BC push, but it's going to be a little bit late. Still, these Hellions are going to be a problem to deal with. Where are the Zerglings? Oh man, there are a lot of them here, but they're all stacked up. Ooh, they're going to be mostly getting taken down. Okay, no, not a bad surround. Gets 4 of them. Yeah, it's going to be actually a decent cleanup from Elazer.
Yeah, that actually could have been a lot worse. That could have been a lot of Lings barbecued for no reason at all, but keeping just enough alive to guard against their further Hellbats. The third battlecruiser. Wait, oh, he lost one of the battlecruisers.
No.
What?
That's not supposed to happen.
No, not at all. Wow, HeRoMaRinE is this is not his build, I can tell you that much.
Does get a couple Yamatos on some high energy queens, which is of course good, but
He's
yeah,
going to
losing one of those
Stim?
battle cruisers.
Wow, this
Oh
really
my God.
confuses me.
Him while still building 2 more battle cruisers. He's gonna just lose the game right here. This Ling counterattack though. Okay, never mind. He recalls one of the. Wow, but this is so much damage.
This is the silliest I've ever seen HeRoMaRinE play, to be honest. Like, even when he does unorthodox builds, he usually does it with, you know, very solid fundamentals. But this is all over the place for him, man.
Oh no, and that battle cruiser is gonna go down by 16 HP.
Oh my god.
Oh, he loses another one. Oh my god, HeRoMaRinE, what happened?
I feel like I'm watching North America right now, honestly.
Oof. Oof, you really gotta do our region like that. Yeah.
Honestly, yes. It's just, oh, there's so many games where you just sit back and you laugh. You're like, what the fuck? All I can do is laugh because I really don't want to keep on saying how bad this is, but it's really bad. HeRoMaRinE is
man.
just not playing up to his standard at all. He built 5 battle cruisers to go into bio, is down to 3. He has successfully confused Elazer. I will throw that out. Like, this is not just HeRoMaRinE playing worse than usual. It's also Elazer. Elazer's probably sitting there like, what the hell? Thinking it's going to be mech because that's almost always what it is. But then it's going to see a bunch of stimmed units. So he's, I don't know. And his mineral gas counts again off. Like, it's a very odd game.
Yeah. Oh, the transfuses, or sorry, not the transfuses. The Yamatos are going to come in, takes out 3 corruptors, which is the classic Zerg whine meme. That's me. I'm the one who whines. You're like, oh, you can't just keep Yamatoing 3 of my corruptors and teleporting away. It's not fair. But you know, it's the big strength of the battle cruisers really is to being able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What is a laser? Okay, I think now he realizes it's a bio, right?
So his link got into the 3rd and saw that there was like 8 Marines, but yeah, I think seeing the reinforcing Marines is 100% at his bio. He's gonna have to reconfigure his brain because he did make roaches in anticipation of mech, or at least potentially. To be fair, he didn't make many roaches, and he is better off not doing that. So I'm glad that he starts up +1 melee instead of missile. Centrifugal hooks is on the way, but this has clearly been a very wonky game for both of them, and because it was, you know, both of them weren't playing their perfect macro game, this actually could be a game that could turn out even, although I will say I think it's Elazer favored.
Oh, definitely. I have a bone to pick with Elazer, by the way. Let's take a look at this macro hatch in the middle of the map. So first of all, he hasn't taken down these rocks, which are very, very important to take down. He's got fantastic creep spread, so it might not come into effect, like really, really magnificent creep spread. But he's not only left these rocks up, with the macro hatch, he's created a second choke point for no reason. Just making it so difficult to fight for absolute, like, no point in doing that.
That's a funny way to put it. You're not wrong. I mean, he did break the rocks down to the right, so maybe he's just thinking that's enough room to work with. And yeah, his creep spread was really good, but actually HeRoMaRinE just brazenly going on to creep this deep, even with the tanks on siege. 1 corruptor goes down, but or battlecruiser, sorry, but of course it's not about the battlecruisers at this point. They are additional. They can go for some harassment, and then otherwise it's the Marine tank push that is already encroaching Elazer's macro hatch.
Yeah, and it's gonna work so badly against him. Like, it's a choke where there shouldn't be one. That being said, he's so far forward onto creep. Is it going to matter? The Bane's getting some pretty good connections.
They got really good connections. There's a whole ball of Marines at the top right that got demolished, and HeRoMaRinE supply falling, you know, when it was already worrying when it was at 140 to 160, and now it's even more worrying. And Elazer might have had a moment where he was overconfident, but I think the creep, it just being so deep on a creep was really, it would have been actually very difficult for Elazer not to hold this.
Yeah, this, I wouldn't say difficult, but it was definitely, the odds were very stacked in his favor. The one thing I'd really like to see is, like, when in a situation like this, get further forward with the queens, man. Like, you have so much creep that you can still re-expand to. But he's not actually doing it, and it's going to mean he takes, like, quite a bit longer to respread his creep than he otherwise could have.
True, true. Elazer still in a pretty good position despite the supply block, despite the late 2-2. So HeRoMaRiNE's going to have a very definite +2 attack advantage. But Elazer still has 6 spaces, 96 workers, a hive on the way, and a lot of creep spread to work with overall. So I mean, HeRoMaRiNE's going to have one last 2-2 hurrah, I would say, and then we'll see what happens with that. But can he actually play like a super late game from this position? I don't think so.
Yeah, Elazer's been on over 90 drones for like 5 minutes now, it feels like. Looking at the income advantage, it's a 2,500 resource income advantage. That is just gigantic.
I mean, the only thing, like, Elazer definitely shouldn't be attacking off a creep too eagerly, but he actually has a surround, so it's true what I was saying. That was actually really nicely done. I was going to say the only thing to go wrong is if Elazer attacked, you know, one direction off of creep. Then, of course, HeRoMaRiNE's army can absolutely tackle that, but Elazer using creep, coming in from multiple directions, his army is, supply is better than his opponent's, and when that hive is done, the army type might be better if he gets a couple of Vipers, goes for some Abducts. Elazer should be crapping game 4, and it's not, I don't even know if it's him playing great, it's just that HeRoMaRiNE chose the oddest build.
Yeah.
Oh! Shit.
The burrowed banelings. Oh, I missed them, but HeRoMaRiNE did not, as he walked right over top of them. And with that, GG is called, and we're going to game 5. Somehow.
Damn. That is, that was weird. That looked like HeRoMaRiNE had tinkered with that build like twice, and then was like, you know, I haven't tried it in competition. Let's try it in competition. I don't know if he's now deterred from ever trying that again, or he realizes that it might have been good had he controlled it better. But that was not a HeRoMaRiNE game there. That was, I don't even know who it was. Someone said it perfectly. If he wasn't streaming, I would not have believed it was him.
Yeah, that was very, very bizarre. Like, truly weird to behold. Like, I'm a little bit speechless about just that like, we don't see that from HeRoMaRiNE ever. Like, we don't see that kind of stuff. It's just bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he's still good, don't get me wrong, as a player, but it like, I honestly feel like the last 2 games were not him playing. You know, like,
yeah.
it doesn't feel like him at all.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the game before on Oxide, it was kind of an acceptable, like, oh, okay, he played worse than we could expect from him. Elazer just found a weakness and kept abusing it. But that last game, 100%, was just him not looking the same, mechanically or build order choice wise. And I can only assume that 2000 Atmospheres, he goes back to just trying to beat Elazer in a macro game. But hell, maybe he actually got really frustrated with Elazer's run bys on Oxide. Maybe he didn't want to play that game again, and now he might be forced to.
That's a really good point. That's very possible. And 2K Atmos is a really, really good map for specifically that run-by style. So it's very possible that we see a flustered HeRoMaRiNE. That would be very bizarre to me. I feel like that's the kind of thing we don't see ever.
It's, you know what it is, though? Is actually, I don't think that he's a type of guy who never gets flustered. I think that he faces so few opponents that can do it, right?
True.
So, like, in the Open Cup, he pretty much never looks flustered. But versus Serral, I think it's very, you know, very evident that he's just like it's frustrated and upset and isn't playing up to his standard and so on and so forth. When he plays against like a Korean Protoss, you know, he's so dominant versus the Protoss in this open cup, but then he faces like Trap or someone, and it's just I do not think he has any complaints about Protoss when I watch him in the open cup. I do feel like he has some internal complaints about Protoss when he faces Trap or Zest or someone, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down for sure. I will say specifically, he's had a pretty good record against him in the last few seasons of the global finals, I believe. Like, I think he's got, if not a winning record, like at least a very close to even one.
Versus Trap?
Yeah, specifically Trap.
Oh, okay, yeah. Trap has not performed very well when you expect him to. His last season finals was pretty terrible.
Yeah, he got bopped out by Lambo and Scarlet like real quick.
Yeah.
And it's surprising that would happen. Trap has always been one of those players who I feel like, oh man, it's so unfair to say this, but I feel like in some ways he's overhyped because like when he wins, he looks so dominant, but then when he loses, he looks like lackluster, you know?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, you definitely don't depend on Trap to always give you the best series ever. In fact, you can look at his series versus Zerg in the finals of GSL and be like, oh no, it's going to happen again. And then it did. There's something about particular players or particular tournaments where, yeah, Trap goes from looking like the only Protoss in the world who can do X or Y to being the only Protoss in the world who can't do X or Y. Like, very extreme.
Yeah. I will say I feel like GSL in general, though, almost always has, incredibly disappointing semifinals or finals. Like, it just
does, yeah.
It's so bizarre because on paper, it should be so good, but I feel like the form day-to-day is so different for players that because of that, GSL, you'll have a player who could beat anyone in the world on Tuesday, and then they have to play on Friday, and they're just a different player. They're just not as good that day, like for whatever reason.
I do think the idea of prep and then anti-prep comes in, much stronger.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a guy like Trap can seem apparently, like, I couldn't tell you the exact reasons behind it, but apparently he can be totally anti-prepped against, and he can have his feet cut from under him, because that's what Dark seems to do. Anyways.
Yeah, Dark is another really funny player who's like incredibly good, but every so often he'll just be like, I don't respect my opponent, and he'll do the dumbest builds, and they'll just fall on their face, and you're like, no, Trap, don't do that, and he's like, I already did.
I can't stop him.
Yeah.
There's some funny peculiarities about StarCraft, but one thing's for certain, HeRoMaRiNE's usually not that type of player. Usually there's a solid expectation, and he rises above that and very rarely below that. So that's why it's so shocking because if there was an equivalent Dark series where that last game happened and Dark did it, yeah, I'd be totally just like, oh, Dark did that thing again where he just decided to do something weird. And I don't know. But for HeRoMaRiNE, it's just very out of the ordinary. So back to a little bit more of the basics, fast third CC. Raven is a cute little difference, but not nearly as big as double battlecruiser.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a deviation. And a big one at that, and he's actually going up into 12 Hellions, which is a lot. But it's not a double battlecruiser build. I do really like the Raven build though. I think it's really, really strong, and I think it's a little bit underutilized.
That's interesting. I'm on board though with the single Raven.
You're on board with the single Raven?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say go more than one Raven.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of crazy to me. But no, I really love the concept of just, especially since Terran players these days are not as YOLO with their Hellions. Like, if you're going to be YOLOing with your Hellions pretty consistently, then I don't think a Raven is necessarily the best play.
Right.
Oh, look at that. Does this actually even kill the Overlord?
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
No.
Oh, wow.
They got distracted. Or did it run out of range?
Oh, and now the Lings at the third base. They're going to get so much damage done. Well, actually, that's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Fortunately, I guess there weren't that many SCVs, and the stacking was all right.
Yeah, the stacking, they actually hid behind the Hellions, but then it means he loses the Hellions. Still loses 5 SCVs, which I would say is absolutely worthwhile for a Elazer.
I mean, HeRoMaRinE had 12 Hellions, so he doesn't really have, to worry about losing too many Hellions. On the other hand, going for 12 Hellions is a severe delay in your barracks production, like severe. So they usually drop out hard. Like 12 Hellions or 10 Hellions is, as Hellbats, is not much better than 6. You know what I mean? So it really is like here and now. They better be clearing up tons of creep spread and really threatening a Elazer, or I think it is a waste and you pushed off your barracks way too long.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that it's almost as self-defeating as anything. It's really good if you are being extremely active with it, though. But like you said, you have to be doing so. The other thing to consider is that he doesn't have to scan for creep at all. That's, well, as I say that, the Raven is not with the army, so he ends up scanning for creep. Does get a fair bit of it, but like the Raven was right there. Why did he not just bring it over? And now comes the Hellbat morph.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he lost track of it and then remembered where it was. So auto turret's gonna come down. It actually would take quite a few banelings, but a Elazer doesn't let it just F2 into only the auto turret. So 3 Hellbats left. I don't think they're supposed to get this hatchery, but they're gonna get the hatchery.
That's pretty darn nice, I'd say, right there for HeRoMaRinE. It was a lot. Losing all those Hellions, not exactly ideal. Nothing to defend against run-bys effectively is, but still, getting a hatch, very, very nice. Now, it's not the 4th hatch, it is the 5th, but I'll take it. I'll take it as HeRoMaRinE for sure.
Yeah, and that was actually directly against what I was saying. The fact that there was, 8 Hellbats instead of 6 or 4 is actually why it fell. So the rare use of the Hellbats actually being better in higher numbers. Still a lot. HeRoMaRinE still has his Raven, going to be using it for harassment alongside some Widowmine drops, which already grabbed 9 drones. Not too bad. Burrowed Banelings already on the field aggressively, and I just don't think there's any way that HeRoMaRinE would expect it this fast.
No, that's really, really quick. And they were almost in the perfect position to cut off that attack. But wow, this base is completely exposed. Oh, and he doesn't properly mineral walk. He's going to lose so many SCVs. Oh, no. Even the Baneling's getting a couple of connections on those Marines. Meanwhile, another cancel on the 5th base. I don't think that's worth the loss of 21 SCVs, though.
Yeah, no, it's actually really weird that he incorrectly mineral walked, and now he doesn't have enough Marines to actually handle this. More Lings come, and they're going to actually start taking out a lot of reinforcements. HeRoMaRinE is a bit desperate to get some damage on the other side of the map. He already canceled 1 hatchery, but he's got to do more. It's just so scary to do more. The faster things are going, the more likely the Terran messes up against Banelings on creep.
Yeah, and he just lost his factory, which means no drilling claws, no tanks. He just lost his 2nd factory. That's really, really bad. Raven comes home, dropped a couple of auto turrets, will help tank. And these Marines are in a great position, so they should get dealt with. But there's a lot of chaos on the map right now. I'd love to see Elazer drop some creep at this 4th base, but there's so much going on. I don't blame him for not being able to do so.
Everything's going Elazer's way. He's killed almost 30 SCVs. He's denied so much mining. What?
Sorry, he dropped the creep. I was just like, oh, wow.
There you go.
Nice, look at that.
And then HeRoMaRinE also was trying to get an orbital to replace, make up for his SCV losses, but that just means the 4th base would have been super vulnerable as well. And it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't make the orbital, you can't catch up on the economy, but if you do, it's just more reason to lose more economy, to be honest. Like, you just don't really want to do it, but sometimes you have to.
And that's the other thing, too, is Elazer's been so active with those Ling run-bys. And when HeRoMaRinE got greedy on Oxide and went for that extra base, oh my god, 35 kills. What?
Damn.
Oh.
That was a worthwhile sacrifice for the Marines that got splashback. HeRoMaRinE actually doing a great job dealing the damage back to Elazer, because he really needed to do something. Elazer is once again having some larva issues as his queens have been going which way, that and another, trying to spread creep and inject. And even though he has a macro hatchery, that 5th base has been canceled again and again. So HeRoMaRinE only down 20 supply is far better than what I expected. When the Lings were covering that 3rd CC, I actually thought it was close to tap out time for HeRoMaRinE. Just one of those, like, I acknowledge that things have gone too far south, but he's managed to pull it back.
Yeah, and the creep spread is now kind of garbage for Elazer. It's barely anywhere. HeRoMaRinE has completely wiped it off the map. Oh, and it looks like the Raven did spot those 2 Banelings from earlier on the left side. Does allow HeRoMaRinE to take those out. It is going to be Ling Bane Hydra once again, which a lot of Banelings connecting on those Marines a little bit late to pick up from HeRoMaRinE. Just a little bit off time. That's always unfortunate. But yeah, this is kind of crazy. This is a pretty good situation, I think, for Elazer, considering the fact that we thought he was dead in game number 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that is funny. Elazer's done a great job turning this around and is, weirdly enough, kind of turning out to be HeRoMaRiNE's kryptonite. Not in the same way that Cyril or Raynor is, because they always seem to be very, very much better, to be honest, whenever they do face off against each other. It's just that Elazer is barely better than HeRoMaRiNE. Barely able to get in HeRoMaRiNE's head. And so barely able to win some of these finals. This one is looking strong for Elazer, but HeRoMaRiNE still has a lot of fight in him. He's finally finishing up Drilling Claws. An anti-armor missile against Zerg is not something you see every day. But HeRoMaRiNE still has the defender's advantage. Wouldn't mind still to fall back to. Baneling's hitting some connections, but not quite enough for Elazer to continue forward. And HeRoMaRiNE will survive with +3 attack on the way, a 5th command center on the way, and still a lot of Wouldn't Minds to work with.
Yeah, this is definitely HeRoMaRiNE fully stabilizing. It's important to note he has been consistently reproducing his SCVs. He's back up to 76 SCVs after he took huge damage early on. Oh, the Widowmine! Oh, on the right side, getting a big connection. Baneling's getting some decent connections on the Marine, better than I expected. Still, I'd say that was pretty good for HeRoMaRiNE. Resources lost about 3,000 in favor of Big Gabe.
Yep. Not exactly the best place, I suppose, for this particular matchup. It's kind of expected, right? But HeRoMaRiNE is getting closer to not just stabilizing, but actually having another good push. He's really had to make sure that he's got everything back to normal before he's had to think about being aggressive. So he's just maxing out and getting a good army. Elazer, I really don't think is better off for being this aggressive, you know? But he has so much bank that I guess he feels comfortable doing this.
Yeah, he's at that, he's at a really high drone count. 90 drones is a huge amount. It's just shy of that, 100 drones, where you're like, okay, I can really get, reckless almost. But it's not quite there, and I feel like he hasn't been able to find the damage recently. He's going to find a couple of tanks here on the left through HeRoMaRiNE unsieges, and actually, yeah, the bio's enough to save them. This is a big problem, the fact that we haven't seen, there we go, just now, Hive tier upgrades for Elazer's actual attacking units. He's on 212. He does have +2 missile on the way and just now started out +3 carapace, but this is going to be a problem. Oh, meanwhile, triple drop on the bottom side, going to be taking out 11 drones and a hatchery, and all of a sudden it's now HeRoMaRiNE with the better economy and the supply lead.
HeRoMaRiNE's bringing it back. He is kind of stuck on Marine tank right now, but if lurkers aren't actually ever going to come, then that's not necessarily a problem, but you usually would see more Marauders added in. Not so for HeRoMaRiNE, but he's banking a lot, going to be adding in the barracks soon enough, and he's finally finishing up his 3-3 upgrades. Tanks are already sieged, so I'm surprised Elazer's taking this fight, thinking he can overwhelm, but reinforcements come by in that top side, and HeRoMaRiNE is again totally fine. Has his planetary to the top left, the extra command center on the way. Triple drop, trying to go back for the sneaky kill. Actually, Elazer's kind of on top of this at this time, but it's almost like a ticking time bomb. It's just going to park itself someplace and come back later.
that is how it oftentimes feels. It's almost inevitable. And now we're seeing the main push coming on in, going to take out this pocket half mineral high yield gas base, easy peasy. No creep tumors there to keep that safe. Meanwhile, lurkers, they're going to burrow in on top of this original third base location, taking out 3 tanks, the sensor tower, and going to be able to deny this factory. Actually, they might even get the kill.
Seems that way. HeRoMaRiNE's trying to make sure that he's got everything good to go to either tackle this engagement or make sure his other armies aren't being attacked. So very slow process. The factory might burn down, but he ends up holding the line. And knowing the lurkers are on the offensive, he's going to go for more drops, tries to get that 6th base again. Not going to work out there, but continuing to encroach on the left side, just little leapfrogs with the tanks. And if the lurkers are actually alone, I was going to say they could be at risk of being pounced on.
That factory did in fact burn down, and yeah, the lurkers, they get shoved back. Liberator's quite good at dealing with lurkers. Kind of funny that both players are investing so much into fighting over this base. I suppose it's Elazer feeling like that's the only way he can attack. Nice hot pickup there coming in from HeRoMaRinE. Elazer gonna push into these tanks off creep though. Oh, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best idea. Ooh, it takes some ugly fights.
Yeah, it's an ugly fight, right? Like, he does actually take out a lot of tanks for that, but it was certainly a trade. Lots of banelings going down. The Hydras now left alone are going to be under pressure from these Marines that were reinforcing. A single baneling won't actually kill the Marines. And just warns... he just warns HeRoMaRinE to make sure to scan ahead, man.
Keep checking. And yeah, they're going to be able to take down this base easy peasy. And now Elazer's economy is kind of in some big trouble. He's on 92 drones, but nowhere near enough bases to make use of all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas HeRoMaRinE is actually starting to really conquer the top left side. Another base turning into a planetary, no doubt. And then he might even take the little pocket base with Rich Vest being Geyser. Could happen as he continues his onslaught in this left side. If he wants, he could redirect his attention to the right, but I mean, either way, it's going to be a very large, like, sprawl of engagements across the entire map of 2,000 atmospheres. And it's Elazer who's been losing on most sides lately.
Yeah, resources lost. It was 3,000 before last time I mentioned it. Now it's 13,000. This is getting way out of hand for Elazer at this point. Neither player has a bank, but I feel like this is just such a huge lead. Oh, and now the lurkers are going to kind of get jumped on a little bit. Yeah, they will all go down on the right side, and this is big problems. I don't know how Elazer takes control of this game again.
Well, he kind of needs to consolidate and push all together, because using his lurkers like that is always going to be a bit dangerous. And then he's, wants to apply as much pressure as possible to HeRoMaRinE, so that he can't continue doing these run-bys, drop-bys, and attacks. It's just, anytime he decides to push in one direction, HeRoMaRinE is always somewhere else. And right now, the momentum is entirely in the Terran's favor, so Elazer's trying to actually get some serious damage done. He's going to try and tackle a planetary with the lurkers that he has, and hey, they're pretty good at that. The Liberator's all gone. They should eventually get the planetary, but then HeRoMaRinE on the right side. He's going to grab a hatchery. He's going to grab all the drones. He scans ahead, sees the lurkers producing. Elazer actually cancels all of them, doesn't think they'll finish in time. And if they don't finish, the Hydras don't stand a chance. That's the Hydras and the drones going down.
Oh, that is a disastrous loss for Elazer. He should lose 2 bases. HeRoMaRinE on the hunt. Wants to chase down as many units as he can, but he's going to be able to take down that hatchery on the bottom side as well very shortly. Meanwhile, the push is actually gaining momentum still for Elazer as well. He's able to take down 2 planetaries, so it's 2 bases for 2 bases. And now he's going to find these tanks kind of exposed. The Marines moved away from them, and now there's lurkers to help out. This is getting very, very messy. HeRoMaRinE, oh my god, he just lost so much supply as well.
He did. That was actually he was so close to having the right set of units in the right place, but every single time he was like 10 seconds off. So the Liberators were never there with the planetary to help. The army was never there with the Liberators to help. And he loses just like 10 supply after 10 supply after 10 supply. Whereas Elazer actually was able to retain at least his important units, basically the lurkers. So they're continuing to be a threat. HeRoMaRinE's not done on the right side quite yet. He killed 2 hatcheries, but wants to stick it here, basically, and say, okay, you gotta come to me, which the lurkers are going to struggle to do, even though they do have that speed burrow.
Yeah, this is a situation where Elazer, he's got 2 Vipers. He should probably just build 5. Like, he's got so much gas in the bank. And this composition, it's Liberators, it's tanks, no Ghosts, no Vikings. Like, Vipers don't have an answer right now besides Marines. And of course, you gotta be careful that you don't run them into Marines. but you could be abducting tanks. You could be blinding clouding tanks. You could be parasitic bombing medevacs. Like Vipers right now would be such high value units for Elazer.
Dude, some of HeRoMaRiNE's defensive setups are actually pretty sick. Top left, he's got command centers and factories producing a little maze. To the right, he had his tanks there, pulled them away, put them back. I mean, he's gonna make Elazer really work for these further base kills, but the fact that he already gave up 2 bases must hurt him. Reconsider how this game's gonna go. Because Elazer now has those Vipers going for the abducts. 3, 4 tanks actually gonna go down. And Elazer also finally has secured the top left again. By breaking HeRoMaRiNE's top left, he's given himself access to it. But he's gonna need more than that, actually. Or he's gonna need to take really good engagements, which the Lurker-Viper combination definitely increases his chances of taking very good engagements.
Oh, absolutely, especially since there are no ghosts on the field. Just now some Vikings coming out. There are 4 tanks being produced at a time. It's quad factory out of HeRoMaRiNE, which is so cool to see. But that also means that, like, Vipers are just so good against that. That being said, Elazer only has 2 Lurkers on the right side, and he's going to get shoved on through by HeRoMaRiNE. There's, like, 11 tanks with this push.
Yeah, it's like a mech army at this point. 14 Lurkers are on the playing field, but they have to be in position with the Vipers calmly abducting things for them. If they try to push into tanks, they're going to take nasty losses, and Elazer can't actually afford those losses. He's already lost 3 more Lurkers after I've said that, as well as the drones, as well as the hatchery, and now has to go back home to deal with this. And as soon as he goes back home to deal with this, HeRoMaRiNE's probably got another push to the top left to further take out Elazer's economy.
Yeah, Elazer cannot afford to lose any more eco, but he is already so broke. And now, he is going to find 4 tanks kind of left on their own. That is a little bit awkward, but there's still so much actually here. And no, he doesn't class any spells. Oh, God.
Oh, wow. I think he was paying attention to the Lurker harassment over to the right side. That was a grand opportunity to... If he had burrowed those Lurkers and used the Vipers, it actually would not have been a bad trade. But losing everything without doing any return damage, now his harassment's going to be cleaned up. He's down to just what is going to be 6 Lurkers. Yep, with that getting popped off. HeRoMaRiNE doesn't have much mining either, to be fair, but he has plenty of orbitals to, sneaky take bases. He's got plenty of Marines, which, after a while are just going to get concaves on these Lurkers, and they'll win out the battle if the econs are both low.
That hot pickup just saved like 10 Marines right there from getting absolutely obliterated. Concave, of course, is great when you have the concave. Oh, man, so many drones going down. Do these tank shots, 17 drones, every single one at that base. There's only half mining base right now for Elazer, and that's it. And he's going to sack it. He's going to... Well, is he going to... Oh, okay, no, he's losing 6 drones there. Still, this is so bad for Elazer.
Yeah, Elazer really is down to just hoping Lurkers win the day. Against HeRoMaRiNE, only, 20 Marines, 4 tanks. Yeah, I think Lurkers could absolutely win that fight, but HeRoMaRiNE can play this patiently. He can just leapfrog his tanks. He has plenty of scans with all the extra orbitals, too. He's even got a couple of Vikings to scare away the Vipers so they can't just chill and wait, and that is going to be it. HeRoMaRiNE takes the map and is going to win the series. Well played. Had to bring it back a little bit, though. That was much closer than I thought it was going to be.